everyone, welcome back to another Q&A session with myself, Sion. I am a registered dietitian based out of Manitoba, and today I'm super excited to be talking with you a little bit about mindful eating and meal prep, and if the two can indeed work together. So first I wanted to describe to you what mindful eating is all about. So mindful eating is really just eating with intention or awareness. When we are mindful eaters, we decide how we eat and when we eat it. And when I first describe this idea to people, often the reply that I get is, what? If I could eat anything I want, whenever I want, won't that just mean that I'll eat ice cream all day long, or whatever your favorite food might happen to be? And in fact, we know that adopting a more mindful way of eating does not actually end in this result. And in fact, it can actually help us get to our health goals a lot more effectively than if we are using a more restrictive or a diet-centered approach. So there are a few different ways that we can include mindfulness and mindful eating into our daily routine, and I'm excited to share a few of those with you today and a lot of the same things that I like to practice. So the first thing that I like to recommend to those who are interested in mindful eating and want to start incorporating that into their daily routine includes taking a few deep breaths before each meal, snack, or really any time that we're sitting down for some food. So by breathing in to the count of 3, holding and then releasing on another count of 3, repeating that 3 times, 10 times if you want, just whatever it takes to get you really centered and relaxed prior to diving into your meal can be really helpful. So what happens when we do this is we actually turn our nervous system from our fight or flight mode, if we happen to be there, back to our rest and digest mode. And this is super important not only for becoming more mindful and centered, but also for our digestion. This can be very, very helpful if we are struggling in that area whatsoever. So first thing, take a couple deep breaths and get centered before diving in. And then next, what we can try is slowing down with our meals. And this can be done in a few different ways. So we can try putting our fork down in between bites. We can try using our non-dominant hand to eat. A couple people have tried that with some success. We can also try eating with others. I find this to be very helpful for myself. I notice that when I'm eating with my husband or my family, that I'm engaging with them in conversation and it slows me down between each bite. So I get a chance to really enjoy and savor each bite that I take. And also, you definitely seem to just hunker down and forget that we're even eating or enjoying our meal when we spend it on our own, maybe in front of a phone or a computer screen. With all those distractions, it can be challenging to really tune in and enjoy. So my next point is that it can be really helpful to reduce any distractions during meals. So if that means turning your phone on silent and your laptop on sleep mode, whatever you need to do to just put aside that time for yourself, whether it's only 15 minutes or half an hour or a whole hour if you can on your lunch break, that is awesome. Anything is better than nothing. If you can put aside even a small amount of time to just put that technology away and focus on your meal or whoever you're with. Next, I like to recommend that we check in about midway through each meal and just see how you're feeling. So after you have finished approximately half of your meal, ask yourself how you're feeling. Do you feel like you can have a little bit more? Do you feel pretty full how you are? When we adopt this more mindful approach, we know that there aren't any rules around food and that you can go back for another afternoon snack or an extra serving if you need it. So that releases some of the rules and restrictions around your portion sizes as well. So if you feel full and content with a few bites left over, then you leave those few bites. And if you feel like you're not quite satisfied, there's also flexibility in that you can grab an extra little serving, or maybe you want to chop up some extra veggies to help satisfy you, or even have a little bit of leftovers. Maybe you have something saved in your fridge still from the night prior. So that mindful eating approach can actually help us in the long run and really acknowledge our hunger and fullness cues. So mindful eating is a great tool that I love to use with a wide variety of people, and often I will get the question, well, should I be a mindful eater or should I just stick with meal prep? Which brings me to my next question: can mindful eating and meal prep really work together? So meal prepping often is thought about in a sense where we're doing this incredible amount of batch cooking in advance, and we often see on social media and Pinterest all of our meals cooked and placed in these little pretty containers, and you eat the same thing for breakfast all week long, same thing for lunch all week long, same thing for dinner, and then just repeat that every single week. Whereas meal prep can look a little different for each and every individual based on what your life needs. So there has certainly been a time in my life where I really appreciated the structure of prepping all of my meals in advance. And that was really helpful when I was, living away from home sometimes or commuting. That just seemed to really work for me and my schedule. Although now I've adopted a more subtle approach with meal prepping, where I often will just make a big pot of soup, and then that can be lunches for the week, and then maybe a batch of energy bites so that you have something to snack on. Maybe your meal prep only consists of you chopping up your fruits and vegetables, or washing everything right away when you get home from the grocery store, chopping it up, and then at least it's readily available to you and you can just grab and go. So meal prep can be totally customized to your unique situation. It doesn't necessarily need to be that all or nothing type of mentality that a lot of people do end up getting when they think of meal prepping. So when we think about meal prep versus mindfulness, I would like to explore the option of combining the two. So with that being said, when we meal prep, it can be an extremely valuable resource to us to reduce the time we spend in the kitchen and reduce some of the stressful thoughts that we have when it comes to making our food choices on the fly. It's great that it sets us up for success, and we can make healthier choices when we've got everything prepped and ready to go in the fridge. All you need to do is grab and go. So, with that said, I truly believe that we can still utilize all of the elements that we talked about mindful eating, even though we have prepped some things. And we can be mindful eaters even if you want to prep every single meal in advance. We can also be mindful eaters if you want to simply prep one or two things in advance. So, there's a whole wide variety of different ways that you can blend those two concepts together. And I think it's really cool when they can come together and make one amazing plan for you and your specific needs. Have you ever tried mindful eating or meal prepping, and do you agree that they can work together? I would love to hear more about your thoughts on this, and if you have any other questions about nutrition or any of the topics that we covered today, if you do happen to have a question, please feel free to email us and I will tackle it in our next Q&A session. Thank you so much for listening again, and we will talk to you soon. See you later.